So, it's time for me to make a mistake. What will probably be a mistake, at the very least. But I promised y'all that whatever y'all asked for when I did that donathon would happen. So, here we are with Dark Souls. Now, you'll notice on the screen there, it specifically says it's the Prepare to Die edition. Now, there's a couple reasons for that. A couple very specific reasons for that. One, the rule I had stated was it would be based on release order. Now, technically, if I was doing this in release order, I technically should actually be doing Demon Souls. But there's some wiggle on that, and I have no good means of doing Demon Souls as much as I would want to. That's part one. Now, part two of that is the technicality of the Prepare to Die edition came out obviously before the remaster did. There would be enough wiggle room that I could have justified doing the remaster for this if I had it. That brings us to the other actual point about it is I don't own the remaster. And I don't have the money to throw around to pick up the remaster for this purpose, so we will be making do with the Prepare to Die edition. Now, it has been modified a little bit. I was originally intending on having it run at 60 FPS and all that good stuff. And then I took a look at how it was running, and I thought about it a bit more. And I've opted to leave it at the 30 that the port was designed originally to run at. I know that may be displeasing to some people. Not exactly altogether pleasing to me. But that is the safest option. Is after numerous tests, there were some spikes in it that I did not care for. Because bear in mind, this port is not ideal. For those of you that missed the entire situation with this was a pretty bare bones port of, I would have to assume, the 360 version of Dark Souls, because I believe that was the main version, to PC. Now, this was before they really got a handle too well on how to do PC ports. And it was fairly rushed, to all my knowledge. Now, I do not know the second part there for facts. I do know that they were still fairly early on porting their library to PC. I can guarantee you that one. So there's a lot of issues with this port. None of them major or game breaking at this point, especially not with DS fix and a specific overhaul I found. Now, the overhaul was specifically for primarily if I had changed it to running at 60, but it does adjust a couple things based on things they did for the remaster as well to kind of bring the two into parallel. Now, there's going to be a hidden benefit, more than likely, to playing this version of the game. And that is, the servers for this are gone at this point, as far as I'm aware. So I won't have to worry about being invaded. One of my least favorite mechanics of these games. So that works out well for me. Small benefits. Small benefits. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about before we got this started, pursuant to the port itself, is there's a very real possibility this may crash at some point. And there will be technical difficulties at times. And there will be scuff. Just bear with it or don't as you see fit. If you choose not to be here for the series, I understand. Now, second part, not pursuant to the port, is a warning. One, I have played these games before. I have not finished any of them. But y'all should know well enough by now my tolerance for people deciding to try to dictate how someone plays something. There are going to be issues regarding that, almost certainly throughout getting through this series. Is we all know how the Souls game community can be sometimes. Those who choose to be supportive and helpful will be allowed to stay. Anyone who wanders in with a "you're playing this game wrong because you're not doing it this way" attitude will be thrown out the door on site. No recourse, no consideration. I don't care. Just gonna warn you now. And that also goes for exactly what you see at the bottom of the screen, the get good joke behavior. Not gonna be tolerating that joke. Not a funny joke. Not gonna be dealing with it. You say it, you say even anything that is similar to it, and you may very well find yourself looking for a different stream to watch. I'm going to be having a zero tolerance policy on people being a pain in the ass during this. Which brings me to the last point I'm going to make before we get this ball rolling. Spoilers. I'm not going to be doing a zero tolerance policy on spoilers, but it would be preferable if you would not spoil things for those who have not seen it. I obviously know how this goes. I won't remember all the pathing perfectly, but I know how this story plays out. So I'm not going to be too stressed about it. I probably will still bat you for it anyway, but you'll probably just get a timeout instead of a ban. Now, there is one thing that I will want from all of you in terms of information, and that is if there is a secret nearby or something that I have clearly forgotten that I'm walking past, I want you to let me know. Don't scream about it. Just let me know once. That's all I need. Tell me one time. Tell me, hey, there's something around here you should look for. That's all I need. Don't need to be told where it is. Don't need to be told how to get it. Just tell me, hey, there's something here. That's all I need. That's gonna get forgotten, but just getting that out of the way now. And I suppose I should talk about my experience with this series a little bit before we get going, because it's going to be harder to get those thoughts out once we get the ball rolling. I played this game technically twice. Realistically, more than that. But I played it a bit once on the 360, and I kind of bounced off. In part because I wasn't that interested at the time. But I was curious enough about it that I picked up this port pretty much when it came out. And I'm torn as to whether it would be a case of I regretted that purchase. That I have this fascination with these games, yet a inherent dissonance with them. Much like I've talked about before when I talk about Souls games in general. Because it's kind of a package deal there. It has all the same world building and everything that I enjoy from, use example, the Kingsfield series. Because it's from the same company. Their world building and their storytelling mesh well for me. It's the game design where things kind of fall over a little bit for me. As such, I am going to be irritable at times during this, and I'm going to be... Some people are going to call it cheating. Because I'm going to be leveraging every advantage I can get my hands on. Now, there is some angle of backfiring that will more than likely happen from the choices I'll be making in order to give myself some advantages. And I'm going to say right now that I'm going to grumble about it later, but I accept the charges of my choices. Do let me know if the volume ends up being an issue at all, because there's a very real possibility that we're gonna have some scuff in that regard as well. I did try my best to balance the audio, but you do only have so many options. I'm ready enough. And as I said before, I pay off what I owe, so we will be making it work. And honestly, this game's not as bad as people like to convince themselves it is, in a lot of ways. It is rough. Don't get me wrong, it is rough. Especially this version of it is rough. But it's not unachievable. I'm honestly more concerned about getting through 2 than I am about getting through 1, if I'm honest. Like, just realistically, I am more concerned about that. 3, I don't think is going to be as big a problem just because of the quality of life that they end up adding by the time we get to 3. Gender is irrelevant. We will be going with sorcery because that will make my life a bit easier. Now, I waffled about this a fair bit, because a smart answer would be actually taking the Tiny Beings ring. You're getting ahead of yourself asking that question. That's something I'm going to cover here soon. Is I don't have a long-running build in mind, but I'm going to explain right now what my initial intentions are. And it will probably change as the sessions go along. But for starts here, I'm going to give myself the benefit of having sorcery at my beck and call. And it may very well be that we pivot partway along the way, depending on how things are going and what I get my hands on. But sorcery will give me an edge early on that will make some of the early teething issues less of a problem. Now, as to these extra items, though, binoculars are fucking useless. Pendant, from what I recall, doesn't really do anything of merit. I don't care that much about humanity, because you do get a bit of extra health from humanity, but since we're not going to be playing the multiplayer at all, humanity is mostly irrelevant. Not really going to be fussing about that. Black fire bombs would be handy if I wasn't taking sorcery. Doesn't particularly matter. Goddess Blessing, you get one of them, from what I recall. You use it, it's gone. Don't bother with that. That leaves these 3. Master Key, the Tiny Beings ring, and the Old Witch's ring. From what I recall, there's a handful of doors that the Master Key opens for you, and it'll save me having... I believe it saves me having to buy the Residence Key as well. And I genuinely don't recall what the Old Witch's ring does. So it kind of falls down to these 2. But I recall the slow heal on the Tiny Beings ring genuinely being very slow. So I think I'm just gonna take the key to save myself some money and go from there. How's it going, Natra? I've just been explaining to everyone my choices and the mistake I'm making by playing this game, more or less. Most of the rest of this won't matter because we're not gonna be seeing this that much. Let's get this party started. These cutscenes are where the audio may get a little wacky.
In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arch trees, and everlasting dragons.
Technically yes, technically no. Well,
But then there
wait
was
till after the
fire.
cutscene and I'll get back to you on that in more detail.
And with fire came disparity.
And we're gonna be here for a minute.
And cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came and found the souls of lords within the flame. Nito, the first of the dead. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. With the strength of lords, they challenged the dragons. Gwyn's mighty bullets peeled apart their stone skins. The witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. And Seath the Scaleless betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more. Thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers. And man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark side.
Not quite done talking yet. But soon.
Yes, indeed. The dark sign brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world. This is your fate.
Okay. Now that all of the dialogue there is done, now I'll answer your question. What I mean by technically yes, technically no, is it's not the first time I've played this game. It will be the first time I'm finishing it, but it is not my first time playing the game. It is far from my first time playing Dark Souls. the furthest I've ever gotten before losing patience or just losing interest, I want to say, was roughly halfway through the game. And I've also played a fair amount of Dark Souls 2 and 3 and Elden Ring, because I own the whole set. Because as I mentioned at the beginning, I have always had a fascination for these, even if there's always been a natural dissonance between me and how these are handled. As such, I do quite well know what I'm getting myself into. Even while, you know, mentioning, I didn't exactly choose this life. Get a load of that big bastard just kind of hanging around in there. Not gonna bother with him. We need to get rid of this broken blade ASAP. Because while it's good enough for dealing with the jerky boys, we need more than that. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of people saying that. Though I would say save your condolences for those foolish enough to come in and try to be funny about this game. Because they will be worse off than I ever will be. No need to touch that bonfire any further. And for anybody who was wondering, no, we're not going to try to beat the demon that's about to appear ahead of time. We are going to be running. Just gonna get that one out of the way before anybody's like, oh, he's gonna fight the thing. Like, no, I did this once upon a time, and I have successfully beaten that in a day. Today is not that day. Because you have reasonable expectations and sanity. That's why. Oh, neat. He was shooting already. Look at him. When I tested this literally an hour ago, he didn't activate until I had already picked up the shield before. But look at him being an overachiever this time. Now, for those that don't know, throughout this tutorial here, you actually are picking up all of your starting gear. So the class you choose determines what you pick up in here. How your gear got scattered in here? Who knows? Come here, sir. We need to have a talk about you shooting me in the face. Don't get attached to this dagger, by the way. We are not keeping it any longer than I have to. This dagger is not up to my needs. Not in the slightest. Now, depending on your lighting settings, you may not be able to see that, but there's a boulder up there waiting for you if you go up these stairs. Now, admittedly, you don't really have much of a choice but to go up there. Way goes the boulder. It's actually a metal ball, but may as well be a boulder. But it gets you in here to talk to this gentleman.
Oh, you. You're no Hollow. Thank goodness. I'm done for, I'm afraid. I'll die soon, then lose my sanity. I wish to ask something of you. You and I, we're both undead. Hear me out, will you?
I go on then.
Regrettably, I have failed in my mission. But perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family. Thou who art undead art chosen. And thine exodus from the undead asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know. Well, now you know. And I can die with hope in my heart. Oh, one more thing. Here, take this. An Estus flask. An undead favorite.
That is going to be vitally important. Is for anybody that doesn't know how these games work, this is your only lifeline. This is your primary method of healing. Without this, just give up. Just put the game down now. You're not going to have a good time. Even with it, you're gonna have a rough go. Without this, though, just don't even bother unless you really know what you're getting into.
Oh, and this.
There's the key we're going to need as
Now
well.
I must bid farewell. I would hate to harm you after death. So go now, and thank you.
Now, you might be wondering, why'd I turn away from him immediately upon activating the dialogue? There's a bit of an odd bit of fiddle that can occasionally happen with this version of the game. In that, when I exit dialogues by pressing B or anything like that, occasionally I had my character attacking without me pressing any of the attack buttons. And I murdered this man mid-dialogue, right after saying yes to hearing him out. Now, at the end of it, for him, it doesn't matter, because you get the same things regardless. I believe you might actually get some souls from him if you stab him. With other characters, it's going to be much more important not to have that happen. So, as a caution, I will probably be having everyone talk to my back, just in case. Just making sure people understand that slight quirk of behavior there. Because the last thing I need is to cause myself a problem where I end up no longer having access to an NPC that I may need. Because as much as it can be a funny bit at times, you don't want that to happen. Notice how we just got 100 souls. He died. One last gift from him to us. He wasn't kidding that he wasn't long for this world. And this leads you back to the bonfire we were at before, if you are interested in such thing. But, you know, may as well touch it. Why not? All it'll do currently is respawn like a dude or two. Which, for anybody unfamiliar with how these games work, that's exactly what happens. Every enemy you kill comes back to life every time you touch one of those fires. Yes, yes. There you go. We needed the key to go through here. Without that key, you aren't going anywhere. Unless you know a way to break the progression of this game, which I'm sure there are people out there that can do exactly that. And now we have the all-important thing that we are going to need throughout the rest of the game, the Sorcerer's Catalyst. Without that, things like Soul Arrow are useless to me. Can't use magic without a magic stick. We're not going to be wasting our magic, of course, against these clowns. But it will be important here soon that I have that accessible. Now, there are plenty of times where I'm going to go back and forth between having that in my offhand and having that in my main hand. Depending on application, essentially. More often than not, it will probably be an alternate for my main hand, however. So I can have the cover of a shield. Because I have no illusions about being good enough at this to go completely without a shield. No. None of that. I remember when those guys used to feel like they were a threat. Back when I was much worse at these things. And they still can be a threat, considering they are much stronger than your average enemy. But as long as you actually... Oh, I forgot that, huh? Well, that's an issue to deal with later. Speaking of issues to deal with later, hey, big man, how you doing? Coming down hot. There you go. That's for you. One of the things nearby would tell you, hey, do a plunging attack there. Now, Now, we can't run from this fight this time. We actually have to fight this thing. Now, by fight this thing, admittedly, in my case, it's not going to be much of a fight. Because remember what I said about not having an interest in playing fair? Yeah. Not doing things the hard way here. This is why we have magic. Just so that I don't have to do things the stressful and irritating way of fighting fair. There we go. We got some humanity and a big pilgrim key. If you defeat that the first time you encounter it when using the broken sword, you get its hammer. Now, as you might imagine, that hammer would be completely useless to me, which is why I'm not bothering. If I was going for a very high strength setup, I'd care more. But this man is probably never going to be strong. At least not very strong. Will he be somewhat strong? Possibly. Depends on where my interests end up sliding as we go along. And as such, since I'm not 100% dedicating myself to something, there are going to be consequences. I am going to end up less efficient, and I'm going to have problems. I can guarantee you of that already. But we'll make it work. Even if I have to use the crutch of magic to make that work.
In the ancient legends, it is stated that one day an undead shall be chosen. To leave the undead asylum in pilgrimage to the land of the ancient lords. Lordran.
Creative name, that. The real game begins. And now we actually get our game mechanic of actually being able to level up. Till you get here, you can't do that. You'll also notice, instead of the 5 Estus flasks we had before, we have 10. Now you might think, wow, that's a lot of healing. More often than not, if you are needing a lot of healing, you're probably not getting a chance to use it. Now, one thing I am going to do is I am going to give myself that 1 point of strength. Like, I'm not gonna 10 out all of these stats, but there are a couple of things that I'm going to push up just for my own convenience. Specifically right now, it'll be my endurance and my strength. Because a little bit of equip load goes a long way, and a little bit of stamina goes even further. The defenses are nice and all, but that's not what I'm building endurance for. We won't be focusing on endurance by any means, but that little bit more can be a very big help. And yeah, exactly. It's very easy to end up wasting. Speaking of wasting, I remember wasting all of that humanity that was right there. Is, for those that don't know, this is how you return to your human form. Is right now, just like those jerky men we were fighting, we're a little dried out. We're a little rough. If you unhollow yourself, you do get more of your max health available to you by a fair margin. But you die, you lose it all over again. And I seem to recall that if you pick your corpse back up, you don't get that back. You get the souls back, but you don't get that humanity back. This man here would teach us about that concept, telling you that if you aid others in multiplayer and things like that, you would get more humanity, or you could steal it from people by killing them. Doesn't always work, but it's an option. We will not be engaging in any of that, considering we have no multiplayer servers, considering this is the old version. Now, the reason why I was saying I ended up wasting a bunch of them is I used to play this in multiplayer with a friend of mine because he would struggle more than I would with this game. So I would jump in to help him where I can. But in order to make that whole arrangement work, because we were just kind of handing it back and forth to pull each other forward, more or less, you need humanity to summon people. I don't seem to recall that you need humanity to be summoned, but you do need humanity to summon people. So that's why all of that can very easily get set on fire. Now there's a pool here. Bunch of water, you know, nothing really notable, and an already open box, which is just a little sad. Now, there is something up above in here. I seem to recall we can go get it just straight away. Plus or minus some parkour required. There's the bird that brought us here, too. Just kind of hanging out up there. I don't think... Yeah, we can't talk to the bird. At least not from there. Seem to recall there is a whole thing with that, but we'll worry about that later. Oh, and actually there's not parkour required, it's just right here. Our first Soul of a Lost Undead, which is a way to get some free souls. I highly recommend don't use those unless you need them, because you can lose what you're carrying in your pocket over there in the bottom right. You can't lose the ones in solid form that are in your inventory. When in doubt, keep it secret, keep it safe. Now, if the little bit of testing I did is any indication, I'm going to end up doing better than I did way back when as far as all this goes, but boy oh boy, do I not expect that to stay true. There's a couple of things we could go filch over here. So before we have too much to lose, let's get this done. Hello, gentlemen. The skeletons. Now, they're aggressive, and they're pretty quick. You'll notice my magic even doesn't do a whole lot to them. So we're not gonna be fighting. Damn, got Goomba stomped. Give me this thing right here. Gonna steal more things. This is what I want. But I may as well get what's over here and just keep on running. Because there's a big man right there, and we ain't dealing with that right now. That is beyond my pay grade to deal with. Snag the binoculars, which is the other reason why you don't want to grab those as your starting item. Is there's a source of binoculars right there, and we're dead. And I don't care about the 148 souls I'm leaving over here, so we're not going to be coming back for that body either. Because that's entirely too many skeletons to deal with right now. But what did we get out of that? We got the winged spear, which is beyond our pay grade to use, but I may decide to make use of that depending on how our stats end up lining up, which is why we went and grabbed it. And the Zweihander, which we are absolutely not going to be making use of. Because look at that 24 strength requirement. That ain't happening. I highly recommend those that are going strength go fetch that as quick as possible because it is a beautiful strength weapon. But it is not a weapon for us. So yeah. Get used to me using that strategy to go get things. If I don't have many souls on hand and I know something is over in an area, I will just go die for it. I don't care. I will just dive in, go get it, and accept the consequences of my fate. Now, we also have this gentleman over here.
Hello there. I believe we are not acquainted. I am Petrus of Thoroland. Have you business with us? If not, I prefer to keep a distance, if possible.
That's respectable. But if you keep talking
Hello
to him...
there. I realize that I have requested that we retain our distance. But I also want you to know that it is not meant in ill will. Here, take this, as a token of peace. No, go ahead. It's for you.
He's a little bit rude in a way, but he gives you a copper coin.
Oh my, you again. Oh, I know. How about this? I have to await my companions here anyway. So what if I were to teach you some miracles? Would that please you?
I probably won't make use of the miracles, but I'll open up his ability to be a shop for me anyway, for the time being.
Very well. Then first, a covenant with the gods.
We'll go ahead and join his covenant. I will almost certainly abandon it later, but it can't hurt to have it for the time being. In case I decide to pivot into miracles.
Now let me share my miracles. Only their ultimate effectiveness will be determined by your efforts and your faith.
As for those unaware, miracles are your holy magic, which is where you get things like heal, which could be quite useful to you. But bear in mind, they're quite pricey, as you can see by the cheapest thing here being 2,000. Seek guidance, I believe, makes more soapstone messages appear, which is not super useful. Especially at this point, Force just pushes things away. Homeward works the same as a Homeward Bone. It'll take you back to the last bonfire you had touched. Heal and Great Heal are obvious. I'm not going to explain those. But yeah, that's what he's got for us.
The effectiveness of the teachings depend upon your faith.
And I seem to recall if you kill him, you get his Morning Star. Which would be very useful if we had the strength to make any use of it. But I have no interest in such things currently. And when I talk about item drops and things like that, that is purely going to be from memory. So I could very easily be wrong about things as well. This, I fell for back in the day. I don't think this does anything good for you. I believe you die afterwards. But we have no souls to lose. No, this isn't the death pit. There is a similar spot somewhere around that looks like it's safe, but will just kill you. That one is not the one. This is actually the good one. Is you get some Homeward Bones, and... Alright, this is where you get the Morning Star and the Talisman, not from our cleric friend. And you get some cracked red eye orbs, which are going to be useless to us, but they're what allow you to invade others. Because as you can see, they very quickly encourage you to go forth and murder. This also spits us out down where the skeletons are. Blitz Talismans, I don't remember off the top of my head what they do, but we can check that in a moment once we get out of this technical death trap we have found ourselves in. I say technically a death trap is you do end up activating one skeleton on your way. Oh no, 2 skeletons. No longer interested. Good day, sirs. Goodbye. They will pursue for a fair amount of distance, but you can lose them by doing something like this. Away! Now, they might still find their way to me after a fashion, but it should be tricky for them to figure out. Nope, one of them figured it out. He jumped down. Now, one thing you can definitely do with sorcery is just kind of stun lock something at a distance. Presuming that you get the timing. Gotta be careful with these guys because they make you bleed, as you saw when I died before. Thankfully, they are just skeletons. They're not exactly geniuses. But they do know to defend themselves when ranged attacks are coming in. As you saw there, they will block and dodge and all of that good stuff. Now, for anybody unfamiliar, if we touch a bonfire, not only do they come back, but we get all of those charges of that spell back as well. That's why it doesn't matter that I use them up when I'm traversing place to place. The main point where spell charges are going to come back to bite me is going to be boss fights. And long sections between bonfires will also sometimes come a cropper as a problem. Now, we actually want to go up this way. Oh yeah, one other important thing that that gentleman over there would tell us if I wanted to sit there and listen to him jabber on, our blue-armored friend there. He'll tell you that there's 2 bells of awakening. One up above past the Undead Burg, and then one down below, down in Blighttown. Now, even if you've never played Dark Souls, you've probably heard the name Blighttown before. We're probably not dealing with that today. Who knows when we'll get to that. The longer it takes for us to get to that, honestly, the happier I might end up being. Get used to the targeting in this being funny, by the way. Because I had meant to fire a second shot at him, but it immediately retargeted to the guy jumping down. Did get a goodie. Got his shield. That's actually not a bad one to get. I wouldn't have wanted any of his armor. I wouldn't have minded his weapon. Is from what I recall of how things drop, if an enemy has something, they can drop it. So that is very useful if you're looking for something. And that includes their armor. Now, there is an item over on that bridge. You know what? I'm not carting much around right now. Let me go get the guy that's up there first, just in case he decides to pull a funny that I've had him do to me in the past. And then we'll go get the things. There we go. Bunch of enemies taken out just so simply with the power of magic. Now, for those that don't know, you have to be sprinting in order to jump in this time. But if you scoot around these pillars here, you are rewarded with the Ring of Sacrifice. And you might be wondering, well, what was the point to getting that? This is very handy. If you know you're going somewhere stupid, and you have a lot of stuff on you, slip this on your finger, and you lose nothing. Very convenient. But it does break, so use it wisely. Oh yeah, you also start with this Black Separation Crystal by default, which can... I think it's actually only for kicking friendly phantoms out. I don't believe it kicks invaders out. Oh, if only. To be fair, I do think that there's probably a mod out there that might let you do that. Because Lord knows it'd be nice. Oh yeah, that's what Lloyd's Talismans do. You can't use Estus in the range of a activated Lloyd's Talisman. It's very handy for fighting invaders. If you're confident you won't need to heal yourself, you can make it so that they can't heal. Bone we've discussed already, and the rest of these are all self-explanatory. You know, an infinite Ring of Sacrifice would honestly be a really nice quality of life thing, even if it would make irrelevant a chunk of how these games are meant to work. Get used to that being a move, by the way. Ending up coyote jumping, essentially, having stepped off the edge, but still being able to jump. There's a fair few jumps where nonsense like that is going to be maybe not required, but highly recommended. Just to ensure you make the jump. There's a rat right here. Not dealing with that. I forget if it bleeds you or poisons you, but it does something just miserable to you pretty quickly. And we're just not dealing with it. We'll just kick his corpse down the waterway with us along the way through. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of the thing. Hello, gentlemen. How you doing? Wish to be stabbed? Good for you. I have a knife here just for that. Hey, sir. Welcome to the Undead Burg. Our first real hurdle. Well, some would say this is no hurdle at all. Yep, that's pretty much where I normally am at on that deal. Sir, I was looking at loot. My Sunny D, and then I'm gonna whoop your ass. There you go. Was that what you wanted? No? Well, that's what you got. You want some too? Yeah, because a lot of these basic guys, you can literally just do that. Just block their first swing and then just make mince of them. The ragdolls in this are just very entertaining. Whee! Oh, that one disappeared. Oh no, there he is. Off the edge with you. Good day, sir. Really now? Where did you come from? You're not supposed to activate. You're supposed to wait over there and be sneaky. Yeah, that's kind of what I was telling you before, yeah. There we go. That's a backstab for anybody uninitiated. They're very useful. Especially when you have enemies that are stupid. Now, does anybody see what's wrong with this picture? You may notice something immediately if you're paying attention. I will point the camera more towards him so you get a hint as to the problem up ahead. That's right, there's a jerky man hanging there. He's waiting for me to come down there. Has friends as well. Yeah, no, if you used an actual Game Boy, then yeah, you've definitely got to find some batteries. Now, there's more than one way to get that item. Oh, actually, no. More than one way to get here, not to get that item. Get used to hearing the of me getting stabbed, because I'm gonna get stabbed a lot. Hey, look, there's those guys that kicked off the edge. Occasionally there are things hidden under the barrels, so you do want to break them. Just... Oh yeah. Get a load of this whole band of merry gentlemen over here as well. Aren't these just a fun bunch of fellows? Now, if I had a bow, I'd actually sit here and just plink them all off of there, because I've done that in the past. Like, just, you know what? Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, and fuck you. They're just acting natural. Like, they're just getting their stretches in. You know, it's fine. Fine. Nothing to worry about here at all. Bye. Just poke them in the fingies. Oh, you went for the flail. Just keep poking. Just keep poking. Nope. None of that. I don't know how I got the guy in the back there, but I'll take it. And all of this was for rubbish. But more importantly, there's a ladder here. Ladder is what we want. Because the ladder is how we get over here. Which gets us to this. Now you may be wondering, is this also a trap? Well, let's find out. There's some humanity. And what do you know? Not a trap this time. What a concept. Now, I believe this just looped us back around. Yep, sure did. Now, if you're clever, you can actually jump from here onto there and go get the humanity without dealing with the whole line of shenanigans down there. Alternatively, you could be like me, make the jump, then climb down the ladder like a fool, and end up in that whole mess trapped up on that ledge there. Oh, past me was a real idiot sometimes. Fell for a lot of traps like that. Get used to our hair clipping through the fog gates. That's just gonna be a thing that's gonna happen. That. Smash up the room, because when in doubt, disrespect your surroundings. Now, I seem to recall you can actually make this jump from here to there, but I'll show you a better way. Well, better is negotiable. Hey bud, we'll be seeing you in a bit. For multiple reasons. There's another ladder with a bunch of friends awaiting near it. I think I went the wrong way for what I was gonna do. Is this the wrong? I think the other way. How I get over there the way I want. That way where the Drake was is progress anyway, so we want to go this way first. Once again, smash up our surroundings. Alright, we can't go this way because, get used to this being a whole theme around here. Broken stairs. You can kind of BS your way up here, but it's not exactly effective. Because as you can see, there's an invisible wall in play a bit on that one. I think it is actually possible to force your way up there, but it's more effort than it's worth. Because all you have to do is just get across to there and you get everything that's up there anyway. But what you want to do is get up on the roof of this building and then jump across that way. That's a much safer jump than trying from there to there. That's absolutely doable, don't get me wrong. But a bit of extra height guarantees the landing, pretty much. So what you actually need to do to accomplish that is you want to get to that ladder that I was talking about there. We'll get around to that eventually. I just don't remember exactly how I get there. Oh yeah, every Dark Souls has fat rolling if you get too heavy. That's just a staple of the series. They will punish you for wearing heavy armor. Which, that I actually like. Because otherwise, everyone would just wear the heaviest armor they can because it would just be better defense. Like, that's one of the few punishing things about this series that I do actually agree with. Is it basically means armor choice actually matters a bit. Now, where I start to have issue with it is the fact that it really doesn't feel like the amount of armor you have matters that much a lot of the time. Outside of, like, extreme differences in your armor. If you're wondering, yes, I did kick him in his non-existent dick to keep him from reacting there. Now, I believe, since we have the master key... I don't know, maybe that's just open, because it should have prompted that the master key was used for that. there's a corpse right here with a wooden shield. Now, a lot of people probably aren't going to have any use for that wooden shield. We might, because our current shield is not great. It depends on what you're set up with. If you've got lots of equip load, then heavier armor doesn't matter to you. For somebody like me who's going to not exactly have the highest equip load, it's going to be very important to balance that out. That man has returned. We only have the 1 point available to us right now. So let's just get a little bit smarter. Call it a day for the time being. Now, Attune Magic would allow me to attach more spells, but we don't have more spells right now. Kindling makes this bonfire better, which I recall... Yeah, it gives you more Estus charges, because you'll notice this bonfire sucks compared to the other one we had. We only have 7 Estus charges here. So you have to kindle it a little bit to have all the charges. And reverse hollowing does what we talked about before, using humanity and everything. Now, the hollow soldier sheep. Yeah, we don't have enough strength to use that properly. Yep, it sure does. Oh yeah, and these damage reductions on shields matter a lot. Right now, we would take 20% of the damage from any physical attacks that the shield blocks. So what we really want is to be able to use this hollow soldier shield. So I actually should have taken a point of strength. I thought this was a 10 strength shield, not an 11. Wooden shield's not bad. 93% physical protection is pretty good. Though I might actually keep the wooden shield because it does have better magic protection. The fire protection, though, is a concern. But, thankfully, there's an easy solution to our problem. How much do I need for a level 700? Okay. Do. That, I think, is exactly what I needed. Nope, I am down by 7. Oh, easy solution to that. You, sir, you look like you have a soul that will fit in my pocket. Give. Easy. I could have just done that rather than using the item as well. But I figured demonstration purposes. There we go. Now, in terms of protecting yourself with a shield, I don't recall that not having enough strength matters for that. I believe it's more for deflecting and hitting things with the shield that the strength matters, but I figure it can't hurt to have that strength to use it properly. Now we got a big boy shield instead of that little buckler. Now, as usual, since the ad's running, though, I'm going to take a quick moment here. So we will go ahead and sit at this bonfire so nothing bad can happen, and I will step away for a quick second. We'll be back from ads here in a moment. I just grabbed the cough drop to ease my throat a little bit because those that don't know, it got significantly warmer here, basically just today. So I'm a little off because of the temperature shift. Hey there, Jay. Don't know if you can hear me yet, but welcome in. Welcome to me making a terrible mistake, but a required mistake. Hope you're doing well. Go ahead and bully these boys again. I believe and creep up on this guy if you want. Very slow. Up. Stealth can actually be somewhat handy in this game, as demonstrated there. Do not fall in the hole in the bridge like I've done more times than I could count. It is not a good idea. Now what we really need is an actual weapon instead of this dinky little knife. Welcome back from ads, everybody. We are going to start making some headway again now. Not dealing with Mr. Spearman over there. Oh, the other one has a spear. Yeah, that's a spear. He was smarter, though. He jumped back. Do bear in mind that they actually will work around the fact you have a shield and try to deflect your shield and all of that. Is one thing I respect about this series is very big on consequences for your actions. Be it ending up hitting an NPC, choices in equipment, choices in individual combats, choices like ignoring this guy obviously hiding behind the furniture here. And goodbye. Oh, something I should note is don't expect me to be parrying a lot of things. I might occasionally get one to work out, but I would not bank on that happening. This man right here is going to be important to us. At least for a bit.
Well now, you seem to have your wits about you, hmm? Then you are a welcome customer. I trade for souls. Everything's for sale.
Now, he says we have our wits about us. I'm not so sure about him. But he carries a lot of things that will be useful to us. Including... well, this would be useful if we were playing the remaster, arguably. The Orange Guidance Soapstone, as it says there, lets you write those messages you see all the time in memes and such. But usually with the intent of being more useful. But these are the other things. The repair box so you can fix your stuff when you're at bonfires, the bottomless box so you can store things, and the residence key, which since we have the master key, I believe is completely useless. But what I want right now is a weapon. Now, you'll notice that some of these weapons have negative numbers on them. That's because right now with our stats, the scaling for these is horrendous for us, and they're actually just terrible. Like, this scimitar would be garbage for us because our dexterity is not that high. Did it with the rapier. The axe wouldn't be the worst choice. Did it with the club, and the reinforced club would be terrible right now because our strength is not that high. Could actually work with the spear a bit, but I don't care for thrusting weapons in these games because they are a pain to utilize. It's also got a bunch of shields, none of which are going to be better than the shield we have, outside of if you want specific protections. So more than likely we'll just picking up a short sword, which we could just fight for a short sword if we really want to. It also has a stock of varying ammo and a set of armor if you wish to have something other than what you started with. So the chain, I seem to recall, is not impressive, particularly. But it is, you know, simple, basic workhorse armor, essentially. We'll go ahead and snag that short sword.
Thank you kindly.
Now, he's got a specific line that you've probably heard me quote, because this guy lives in my goddamn brain for some reason to a certain degree.
Oh, you again. I hope you've brought plenty of souls. Things are getting treacherous in these parts. A horrible goat demon has moved in below. And up above, there's that humongous drake and a bull demon too. If you stick around this place, it might end up being your grave.
Forget what triggers that dialogue.
Yeah, I'm not here to chit-chat. We talk business or we talk nothing at all.
Now, what he said before, though, about the bull demon, the goat demon, and the drake, he's actually telling you about most of the major things in this area, which is very convenient. Now, we don't have any money, so we're not going to be buying anything else.
What a waste of time. Go and fall off a cliff.
He's a bit of a dick if you don't give him any money. Don't remember what to do to make him do that dialogue. At least I think it's him that says it. Because you've probably heard me say something about splurging when your days are numbered. Oh yeah, never hurts to splurge when your days are numbered. That's the line. I was 90% sure it was him that says that, but I think I have to do... like, either we have to buy more stuff from him or something along those lines to get him to say it. Here's where that ladder was that I was pointing out before. And of course, with a new weapon, we have a new moveset to deal with. Our heavy attack being a thrust still, but a thrust with much more impact and much longer range. Climbing up here, we get a bunch of throwing knives, which are just a consumable that you can throw knives at enemies if you so wish. Sounds good, Natra. Best of luck with the errands. Yeah, now we're up here where we were looking at before with the broken stairs. We can just pop our way over there, but first, I've heard somebody hit the ground. I just swore it was somebody that landed behind me. Apparently. This will be quite handy. The light crossbow and a set of standard bolts. Unless you take the hunter, I think, specifically, you have no real ranged options aside from picking that up. Or buying the bow off the merchant. Now, obviously, we have magic for a ranged option as well. But if you want something that doesn't rely on charges, or something perhaps that has more range, you'll be reliant on that crossbow. This guy, not doing the best in the brains department there. Let me go ahead and show you guys how bows, and more specifically crossbows, work in this game. So you know why I'm not going to be using it extensively. First, you got to put it in both hands. As you can see, it doesn't work resoundingly well. I'm trying to remember what I do. Aim. Because you can go into an aiming mode with these. Oh, actually, no. I think crossbows can't do it. I believe that only bows get aiming mode. Yeah, as you can see, the light crossbow's not too bad. I believe it's the heavy crossbow that has a much longer load animation and can really bite you in the ass. That is another point, though. You can two-hand just about anything if you want to, and it does give you some advantages. Like, if you want to be funny, you can even two-hand the dagger. which just looks kind of silly, but it does work. I meant to go over that earlier, but slipped my mind. That takes care of that, so let's hop on down, get back about business. When you're in doorways, I highly recommend using your thrusting attacks, by the way. His walls matter for your weapons in these games, for those that don't know. That's another harsh lesson that takes a while for people to pick up on. Is say, for example, I try to do a wide swing in a doorway. Just like real life, all you'll do is clatter against the door or frame. Unless you're far enough over that it'll just kind of graze through. But it's a gamble, and I don't recommend taking that gamble. Now, in case you haven't picked up on it, we're back at the beginning, where we first came into the area. So if we head on up, we'll get back to the bridge we crossed right here, where the bonfire is. And now, unless I want to go to the shop, I have no reason to go back over that way. I have spent a long time here, so I'll be able to tell a fair amount about this area. Once we get more toward, like, the halfway point of the game and beyond, I will no longer remember nearly as much. I did not spend as much time. Because I did the thing that I do in a lot of games where I started a game repeatedly trying to find what I wanted. So I tried magic, I tried strength, I tried dexterity, I tried pyromancy, etc. Which also led to me burning out on this game. Even more so than just how difficult this game is, as it is. Now, technically, I can actually finagle to hit him and his friend there. I'm not gonna bother. Because the threat here is they chase you into this room with the fire bombs, and you have to deal with these two. And their friend. As long as you deal with any of them quickly, it's not really that big a problem. And having a short sword means we can deal with these pretty conveniently. Especially with a shield that will deflect their attacks. Does not open from this side. Get used to seeing that. There's a lot of that in this game. Because they gotta railroad you to where they want you somehow. And a whole nother gangle of fools here. You wanna step to me here? That's what happens when you step to me. 2-for-1 special. We got his waistcloth, which we won't be using. This is one of the doors the master key will open. I believe the residence key also opens that. But we can save ourselves 1,000 souls. And get us this. And get us an angle at what's ahead of us. Gold pine resin is quite nice. Finite supply of it though, so be advised on that. What gold pine resin does is it applies lightning to your weapon.
From your grave.
We'll be doing plenty of that there, Callista. How you doing? We will have to rise and rise and rise again. I was hoping to get at him fast enough that he wasn't going to get his shield back up. Okay, fine. We'll just take advantage of the fact that we know that that shield doesn't have good magic resistance. Now, you actually want to go up here before you go down that way, because there's this jerk waiting for you up here, who would be shooting you in the back the whole time you're dealing with the clown squad over there. And that Titanite shard will be vitally important to us in the future. because that's how you upgrade weapons for those uninitiated. So that'll be very important. But I probably won't be making too much use of it quickly, because I don't know what weapon I'm gonna want. That's something that gets me in trouble with these games all the time, is I wait a long time to use my Titanite shards. Because I waffle about weapon choice a lot. One thing I do seem to recall we can do, though, is upgrade our catalyst with it, and that is something I'll probably do quickly. Because Now, I don't know this for a fact, but I would presume that upgrading the catalyst will help our magic in some ways. Also, that's another funny that happens. They throw a flaming barrel down at you on your way up this set of stairs here. Fun fact, when I played this back when this was new, I was struggling even to get to this point. I'm gonna be pointing things like that out along the way. Parts where I had trouble and things like that. We're not going down those stairs. One of these towers has something very bad waiting for you at the bottom of it. And also, some of them have very bad things waiting for you up them. Well, so you gotta be very careful with these towers in particular. Okay, it's this tower. I know where we are. Do I want to do this right now? I am a little low on soul arrows, but I think it'll be enough. Actually, a lot of souls to lose. Fuck it. Seems innocent enough, right? Just a rampart to cross. Nothing bad could possibly happen here, right? That thought? This fucking guy needs to be dealt with first. And his friend. The amount of people I've seen get got by that is upsetting. Now you might be thinking, well, why are those two a problem? You'll understand in a minute if you don't already know. Hi, big man. How you doing? Meet the Taurus demon. Remember that bull demon that the shopkeeper mentioned? Yeah, there he is in all his glory. Be very careful going around him like that. Because if you do it wrong, he can and will just sweep you off the area and you will go flying off this rampart to your instant death. Arguably, that's more dangerous than he is in general. Another little fun fact of my prior experience. I actually had quite a lot of trouble with this fight because of that very situation, for one thing. And for two, I was never that good at the idea of rolling away from attacks at the time I played this the first time. Is order of things occurring that might be interesting to people. I played this before playing Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, but after playing Monster Hunter 1. But I hadn't played Monster Hunter 1 that much yet. So fighting large enemies was something still kind of alien to me. So the way this game expects you to fight was not something I really was expecting or was that familiar with yet. And that's a big part of why this was difficult for me back then. Take note of that 46 strength requirement, by the way, on the Demon's Great Axe. we ain't gonna be seeing that in action. It's like, you can put it on, you can put it in your hands, you're gonna suck ass at using it. But this is something I do appreciate. They let you try. Like, you can try. You don't wanna, but you can try. We can use the Morning Star if we need striking damage, though. And damage types do matter. Remember those skeletons that I was having trouble with back down by the first bonfire? Striking damage matters against them. Cutting doesn't matter. They don't care. Is what flesh do they have to cut? Now, somewhere near here, something I'm very interested in. That's technically it, but not it. It's locked. So, we have... Yep, there he is. Here's a very well-known character.
Ah, hello. You don't look hollow, far from it. I am Soler of Astora, an adherent of the Lord of Sunlight. Now that I am undead, I have come to this great land, the birthplace of Lord Gwyn, to seek my very own son. Do you find that strange? Well, you should. No need to hide your reaction. I get that look all the time.
Knight Soler, known by some as Sonbro, and a bunch of other various turns of phrase there.
Oh, aha. So I didn't scare you. I have a proposition, if you have a moment.
Sure.
The way I see it, our fates appear to be intertwined. In a land brimming with hollows, could that really be mere chance? So what do you say? Why not help one another on this lonely journey?
Sure.
This pleases me greatly. Well then, take this.
This is how you gain access to cooperation in this game. The White Sign Soapstone.
We are amidst strange beings in a strange land. The flow of time itself is convoluted, with heroes centuries old phasing in and out. The very fabric wavers, and relations shift and obscure. There's no telling how much longer your world and mine will remain in contact. But use this to summon one another as spirits, cross the gaps between the worlds, and engage in jolly cooperation. Of course, we are not the only ones engaged in this, but I am a warrior of the sun. Spot my summon signature easily by its brilliant aura. If you miss it, you must be blind.
He's also one of the very handful of genuinely helpful characters in this world.
Oh, hello there. I will stay behind to gaze at the sun. The sun is a wondrous body, like a magnificent father. If only I could be so grossly incandescent.
He's also why you'll hear me use the phrase grossly incandescent a couple times. I just find that an amusing turn of phrase. He does have a good view here, though. Look at that. Like, I'm not much for the sun myself, but boy, do you get some good angles sometimes. Just look how high up we are. Well, look, that's clouds down there. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Clouds above and clouds below. The hell of a thing.
Oh, hello there. I will stay behind to gaze at the sun.
He is done. Okay.
The
I wanted to make
sun
sure he
is
had
a
nothing
wondrous
else to
body,
say.
like a magnificent father. If only I could be so grossly incandescent.
I don't remember when we get that. As you might imagine, he is also, from what I recall, the source of the very well-known Praise the Sun pose. that we do not currently possess. You can actually cycle your gestures, we just haven't learned any other gestures. And as you might imagine, those gestures are very important for multiplayer if you're not chatting with the person you're playing with. You could tell them like, hey, there's something up there, there's something down there. Oh god, danger that way. Case in point. Pop our head over here a little bit. I was not fast enough. But we lived. So yeah, remember that Drake we saw? He's back. He also nuked the whole bridge, which is great and all for us, but it has its disadvantages, because he's just hanging out there now. Now, you might be thinking, well, why don't you use your magic and your bow and everything to just kill him? There's actually a reason to keep him around for them. A couple reasons, actually. One of which being getting rid of problems on the bridge for you conveniently. Ow. He's being surprisingly kind. I thought he was gonna spray fire down the bridge at me as I walked down there. Right here, I believe. Yes, this is what I was looking for. Shortcut ladder. You want as many of these shortcuts as you can find, as you might imagine. And there are quite a few of them out and about in the world. This shortcut ladder in particular brings us back to where we were before. And allows me to get rid of these souls before I lose them. The most important thing. Now, I'm not really going to be worrying about attunement anytime soon, because attunement just means more attunement slots, and we already have 3 slots, 2 more than we have any use for. Though, actually, no, before I spend this, there's something I should do. We have a merchant to go visit before I spend my money. And I actually should have walked down there before reviving everything. It would have made my job easier. But hindsight is 20/20. There's that whole thing about having your attacks collide with the terrain that I warned you all about. I did get a free humanity. Maybe I should actually make use of that, so I have extra max health to play around with for the time being. Perhaps. Perhaps. Now, the neat thing about Soul Arrow is it's a homing spell, in case you haven't picked up on that. So as long as you're locked onto a target, it will track it. Now, it has short range. That's the, as you'd expect, downside.
Oh, there you are. Still keeping your marbles all together? Then go ahead, don't be a nitwit. Never hurts to
There it
splurge
is.
when your days are numbered.
That's the one. Snag the repair box and the bottomless box. And arguably we don't have that much other use for him anymore. We're probably going to be coming to see him occasionally for more bolts if I end up using the crossbow a lot, which there is a reason to have more bolts right now, so I am going to pick up... Actually, no. Smarter thing to do. Give me the short bow. This is going to take up the remainder of our souls, but that's fine. Now, I forget if this matters, but I'm going to get this ID. Now, those of you familiar with the particulars of this game will know why I
Ah,
bought those.
Thank you very much. Come back soon.
If you're unfamiliar, you'll learn about something here today. That'll be quite helpful if I can make use of it. And I could easily be making a mistake with the wooden arrows. We'll find out. The now we have access to the bottomless box, which we can ditch anything that's in our inventory into it. I don't know how much I'm going to actually be using that, but it's a thing. And for demonstration purposes, we'll go ahead and offer up the humanity this time around, so you can see the health difference. Oh, does that not offer health difference in this one? I thought... Maybe I'm thinking of the second and third games where your health changes when you're human. Because our health definitely didn't change. Or we're at such a low amount that it doesn't matter for the two. But the repair box is going to be very important to us because we could spend souls to repair weapons. Because weapons have a... well, weapons and armor, really. All have durability. Your alternative to having the repair box is buying repair powders and finding repair powders all throughout the world to be able to keep all that stuff fixed. Now, you're still gonna need repair powder now and then for long engagements and long trips. But I highly recommend having the repair box so you can keep your stuff in top shape. It will save you a lot of heartache later. Now, admittedly, I don't know how attentive you have to be to your gear. Like, I don't think you have to be super attentive to it. But it can be handy just to make sure it doesn't work. Oh, neat other thing that you may not have picked up on. We take the bolts off. You'll notice that pouch disappears. It actually renders on you even simple things like what ammo you have attached. So when I chuck the 100 wooden arrows on, we have a quiver sitting there now. Isn't that neat? Oh, do I not have the dexterity to use that properly? Oh. Hang on, I need to fix that. Because this plan ain't gonna work if I don't have the dexterity to use that bow properly. And I have almost certainly given away what I'm planning to do. But that's fine. I think I need to step back a bit before those again. Huh? Why can I not use those? Can you not use them while you're human? Did I forget something? Well, there we go, killing again. Because the amount we need to get the one dexterity point that I want isn't going to take us that long to get. As demonstrated by how much we've gained already. Feels weird actually being warm right now. Like that's how much of a difference there is in the temperature at the moment. Because it's been like freezing for the past few days and now we've got actually pretty high temperature. So my body's gonna have a whole fucking to-do about that. Could you lower your shield, please? You did, but not when I needed you to. This is why these spear guys are somebody I usually just blast with magic. Is they do not like to lower their shield. And you can do the same thing that they do if you use a spear. You can attack while shielding. I seem to recall. So that can have its uses. There we go. That's all the souls I need for my 1 point of dexterity that I wanted. That we can achieve my goals. And the sorcerer starts at a fairly low level, so adjusting things isn't too big a deal. As long as you don't push your level up too high in the process. Because that's how the soul cost scales, for those that don't know. Is the higher your level gets, the more it costs. Very simple concept, really. I don't want the bow out yet. Is this where I want to do the thing? Yep, this is exactly where I want to be. We're gonna do something cheeky. As soon as I remember... There we go, that's how I aim. Now, this is gonna take time. What you do is you just keep shooting the Drake in the tail. This is something I actually learned more or less by accident. Because I thought I'd be clever and kill the Drake by just shooting it in the ass over and over again until it died. To get rid of the problem. There's a benefit to doing this that you might not expect. But like I said, it is gonna take us some time to do this. Especially if I miss. Problem is, I don't remember if this is number of hits or amount of damage dealt to do this. That's why I'm a little worried about using the wooden arrows for this, but I also only had so much money on hand. I think technically I could actually hit this with sorcery as well, but it'd be difficult. And I believe the crossbow can hit it as well. It's just, you have to get the right angle without aiming crosshair, which is what the bow is better for. So you actually get an aiming sight with this. I think one of the crossbows might get an aiming setup as well, just the light crossbow doesn't. I don't remember. I don't know if that second shot there actually would benefit at all. Yeah, buckle up for the exciting shooting a Drake in the tail action that's gonna happen here, because we're gonna be here for a bit until I see something happen. Really hoping I'm not wasting arrows shooting it the second time like that. Wasting enough arrows, missing. I believe in theory when it's walking by, you might be able to hit it with a melee weapon too, but you run the risk of falling off doing that, considering, you know, not a lot of ground. I also just now remembered that I don't need to hold the button to hold the aiming up, so that helps. I was initially planning on actually doing this during the ads, but the timing didn't line up for it. Up if I'd stop missing the timing. I might actually need to aim more toward the end of the tail to do this. I don't remember. Been too long since this has been a relevant thing, but I'll go ahead and aim a little lower to be safe. Give me a harder hit, though. Decent point. Aim for one of the ends of its path, you silly man. Stop aiming in the middle. Doesn't take stamina to keep the bow drawn either, which is a little weird, but just roll with it. admittedly, not so sure how much this will actually benefit me, but I figure it's a fun thing to show off for everybody who doesn't know this. Which, admittedly, with how long this game's been out, I'd be shocked if people didn't know this was a thing. But, you know, never hurts. Just like it never hurts to splurge when your days are numbered. And honestly, it's kind of nice to annoy the hell out of this Drake, considering it can be such a problem. Especially when you're first playing this game. Just kind of just sit here and keep poking it with sticks like, hey, 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 I'm annoying. Hey, I'm annoying. Hey, I'm annoying. Kind of like a kid just sitting there pulling on your tail. I would assume in the grand scheme of things, this is really not doing much of anything to him. Aside from, like I said, really annoying him. If we don't see the results I'm looking for soon, though, I'll just explain what I'm trying to do. For a bit of context for those who are like, why is he just sitting here pumping 100 arrows into the Drake's tail? Fortunately, I can't get a look at his health bar to know whether this has done anything. But considering these don't do a lot of damage and our dexterity's not good, this may very well be largely ineffective. Basically, the idea here is you actually get a sword that is very useful from shooting the Drake in the tail enough times. Problem is, I don't remember how many times you have to hit it, and I do not remember if it's a damage threshold or a hit count like I was talking about before. My brain was telling me it was 30 shots, but we've done more than that at this point. But that may be 30 shots with good arrows, or good dexterity, so it may in fact be damage based. I seem to recall you can also just kill the Drake, so it stops being a problem. But if you kill the Drake, you lose access to the weapon you get from this. At least, I believe you might lose it permanently. I don't remember if there's another Drake in the game anywhere. Part of my concern is I may have been wasting arrows with my shots being too high. I'm pretty sure there's a visual indicator that you succeeded in doing this. Like the tip of the tail comes off or something. But I genuinely don't remember. This is the kind of thing I like, though, is when you have weird little things like this that the player can discover and it nets them something actually rewarding. There it is, the Drake Sword. I forgot that it just goes into your inventory, more or less. Note the 200 power that the Drake Sword has. It's a little out of our current strength range to use one-handed, but we can use it two-handed, because I believe you have to have 2/3 or something like that of the stat you need to use it two-handed. I think it's like you get half again your stats essentially when you use something two-handed. This sword, one of the rare dragon weapons, is formed from a drake's tail. Drakes are seen as undeveloped imitators of the dragons, but in they are likely their distant kin. The sword is imbued with a mystical power to be released when held with both hands. Now, there's a catch to using the Drake sword, in that, from what I recall, you cannot repair it. Unless maybe the repair box works and I forgot that. But the Drake sword is a very, very potent weapon to use, if you can use it. It's got a neat party trick it does. It shoots waves of magic out of it when you use it with your heavy attack in two hands. So yeah, very handy weapon to have. And if we get into a bad spot with something, I may very well use it as my crowbar of sorts. Now, bear in mind, Drake is still up there, and he's pissed. I just chopped his tail off. He's not gonna be in a good mood. Okay, yeah, it is poison from the rats. Build up, drop down a bit. Oh, one down. Careful not to get pushed off the edge. There we go. You don't want to rush in there to fight them. You will just get rinsed because they have a third friend that you wouldn't know about unless you had been here before. Get used to the game doing that. With the hee hee ha ha, there's an extra guy that's out of sight situation. This, I believe, takes us up behind the Drake. Also into the Undead Parish. The actual second section of the Undead Burg. Place we need to be. Yep. Hi, Black Knight. How you doing, bud? Sure you're doing great. Garden anything? No, I think that's one of the ones where you would kill him to get his stuff. Because the Black Knight gear is also pretty nifty. The shield in particular, I want to say, is useful for a lot of builds. The armor and the weapon, not as much. Those are more beneficial for builds that would, for example, benefit from a greatsword. Or from heavier armor. Just standing there with his back to me. He's baiting me. You only have 262 souls. Get away. Backstab. I fucked it up. I fucked it up. I did it from too far away, and I don't have my catalyst equipped. I'm a fool. I'm a fool, I'm a fool, I'm a fool, I'm a fool. I'm a fool. Take note of the fact that we did like 10 damage per swing on him, by the way. Black Knights are no joke, especially early on. Oh, right, there's this whole situation up here as well. Hey, bud, I have other things to be concerned with right now. Could you try not? Oh, fuck me. That's a thing that's very easy to happen, by the way. Is, not getting it to interact with the ladder, even though I pressed A when I approached the ladder. if you're going too fast, sometimes you just skip the ladder and just go whee to your death. Not how I expected to have lost that humanity, but not surprising that I lost that humanity. Now, what I should have done was remember that I didn't have my catalyst equipped, because I think just hitting him with sorcery probably would have made that work. Would have taken a lot of hits of sorcery, but he would have gone down eventually. You see, the Drake is still there, and it's very, very unhappy. Thankfully, if you just pop up 3 souls, that's one of the reasons why you keep the Drake around. He just goes roasty toasty across the whole bridge. The downside is you also can get roasty toasted. That was not supposed to be a roll. That was supposed to be me running, which would have covered enough ground, potentially have saved us there. But hey, we have a spear now, so that's cool. The spear has slightly lower requirements than the winged spear, so it's actually something within our capacity to use if I so choose. I think I can technically use the winged spear. I would have to use it in 2 hands. No, it's telling me can't use it at all. Yeah, 2-hand seems fine. Not really something I want to use. But it's an option if the idea comes about as a good idea at some point. Now, it's also worth noting on the topic of the Titanite Stone I was talking about before, we can't actually do the upgrading yet. We can't do our own upgrade. Booga 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 booga. I said booga 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 booga. There we go. Just, you know, a little bit of reimbursement for the mistakes made. Well, I'm thinking. Oh yeah, you can attack on ladders, it's just not very effective. Either I'm forgetting how to, or you can't in the first game slide down ladders. No, you can repair the Drake Sword. It's just very expensive to repair. That was it. But yeah, if you wanna have an easier time, you can just make use of the Drake Sword and make your life simpler by a fair margin. Go ahead and grab one more point of strength, because I think there's at least one other weapon that I would be interested in making use of that'll need at least that to be viable. And honestly, as long as we're still using the short sword, a little bit of strength can go a long way toward making the short sword a little more effective. Like this way. I don't think. Your friend abandoned you. No. You don't have any reason to fear knocking enemies off edges. You have plenty of reason to fear them knocking you off of edges. But if you knock them off, all you miss out on is potentially getting gear from them. So if you don't need their gear, off the edge they go. Saves you a lot of time. A lot of health bar. Really thought that that stab was gonna go through and hit the second rat too. Considering that was the point to stabbing there. But oh well. Now, against my better judgment, I might go harass the Black Knight again. Because if I can get the backstab off properly and actually magic him down, we could benefit quite a bit. Gotta get rid of some of these guys around here first. Just so we have room to fight. So I'm gonna bring him down here so I have room to properly dance. Fighting him up there on his little perch. He's just asking for trouble. Okay, back to me. Now, the mistake I made last time is you gotta be pretty close to back. Don't bump into him, or have him turn around the second you go to do it. He's gonna be right on my tail. Not? There he is. Okay, yeah, the sorcery answer, not really gonna work either. I think he is, yeah, he's blocking some of them. And we're dead in one hit. That's why you don't fuck with the Black Knights unless you're ready for it. Just in case anybody was wondering. Just wanted to make that point rather clear. So yeah, he gets to stay up there. I wouldn't mind taking him out, but as it stands, we're not gonna worry about doing that right now. I could take him on with the Drake Sword and probably win, but I don't file that as worth my time right now. Okay, he did start going. Whoosh, motherfucker, whoosh. It was more me forgetting which direction I was going than wanting to do that. But it's always fun to do that. Yeah. You know, he might well indeed there, Azzy. He might well indeed. How you doing? I gotta say, with the walloping he already gave me, he'd have to pay the bill. Timing didn't work. Yeah, unfortunately, they run on the hour, so we'll circle back to that idea in a minute here. Scheduled ads are a blessing and a curse. I didn't pay attention to the fact that it was about really game. Really now. The classic, we hit each other, huh? That's a problem, because poison lasts very long, and I have nothing to cure poison with. Well, this is as good a time as any to teach you all about how poison works, I guess. It very rapidly drains your health, and very slowly decreases. So, fun times there. Let's go get our stuff back, and then we'll just go back to the bonfire then, because we're going to end up losing out overall on this exchange. Have a drinky pop. Up. Because yes, these ladders are long enough that if I wasn't careful, I would have just died of poison on the way up there. That's bad. Very bad. Okay, good. I measured the reach properly. Now let's get back to that bonfire to get rid of this poison. Thankfully, it's not a long trip back. It is a little bit of risky business going this way back with the poison we have on us right now, but don't have a choice. Do that or risk losing everything. Yep, I was going this time. Considering I've only got one heal left, we might actually still not make it. Drinky pop. Alright, there we go. Come on. Here's the ladder. Okay, everybody should be coming back from ads now. Apologies for the timing there. They do run on the hour every hour because of the settings, so... as I was saying, hopefully you're doing well, Azzy. Welcome to the mistake I've made here. The requirements for the Drake sword. 16 strike? Yeah, 16. I might position myself for that just in case. So I can utilize it as a convenience tool. Not like I've got anything I want to prioritize at the minute anyway. Yeah, I know the feeling there. I've gotten caught that way more times than I'd like to count. Roasty toasty for all of them again. Now we're back here again. No, no drinking. Only I may drink. Now you're aware of that idea, huh? Look at you being clever. Not clever enough, though. Of course the kick worked that time. I was out of range. It can be a little finicky, because for those that don't know, you have to press forward on the stick immediately with your attack in order for the kick to happen. So, for me personally, it's very prone to not working. Hey, that's a little fun fact for everybody as well. You'll notice that the poison buildup still went up even when I blocked that. They still get their nasty poison-ridden slobber on you. But thanks to the rats being chunky boys, they don't necessarily make it down on these small passageways too well. Ironic, really, for rats. There we go. Of course, we have a whole different problem awaiting us up here that I showed you all before the Black Knight. They pummeled me into pudding before. Problem I have not yet decided exactly how I'm going to solve. There's a couple options for solving this problem, right? Some of them good ideas, some of them less good ideas. This Chief Big Bacon over there is gonna be a concern. Now, I believe I can go around. I believe I can book it for those stairs and avoid that interaction. We can also bait his friends down with this. Stop it. Now, the issue is he has a lot of friends. We're not going to be able to bait all of them because he's got the two bowmen up there, for example, that are not going to be too interested in coming down to say hi. That swordsman, I think, is too close. Unless I switch to the bow and shoot him, I don't think we're getting him without getting Senior Porker as well. I forget how much health Big Boy has. I'm pretty sure he's got a lot. He's also got that friend waiting for me right around the corner here. Hey, Hey, you. I see you. Oh, wait. Oh, right. That's a thing that happens here. Swordsman ran off, as you may or may not have caught in the distance there. Is they do a funny. I'll explain that after I'm done dancing with this guy. God damn you and your shield. Don't have the patience to deal with you right now. Enough of that. Notice that gate's shut now. That's what that guy next to the board does. He runs back and activates the gate. You can stop him, I do believe, if you're fast, but you risk getting bowled over by the boar in the process. I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna do what I was talking about and book it for the stairs and avoid direct confrontation here because of the gate being in the way now. I don't think you can just run it straight through that gate before they close it. I think you have to stop the swordsman if you want to try to do that. Wanted to try to get him to actually be interested in coming over here a little bit more. Better angle for the spells to hit him as he gets pushed back by the spells. There we go. Okay, there wasn't another guy. Remember, there was one. That's why I was unsure about committing harder as well. That timing did not work out well at all for me. I don't know how you missed that, but you know what? I'll take it. No. So now we have the position of advantage. Swordsman is having a moment. Let's help him out with that. There you go, buddy. More. How much health do you have? Yep, that's kind of what I expected. If you're wondering if this was part of why I opted for sorcery right out the gate, you would be correct, because dealing with problems like this is much better this way. You can, of course, wallet warrior your way to a similar situation by just buying the bow that we have already and a ton of ammo for it. It will accomplish much the same thing. Or use the existing crossbow as I'm doing right now. Which we should have just enough bolts to finish this job. There we go. We have one bolt to spare. There we go. One less problem to deal with. Because I seem to recall that he does not respawn. Now, we have a gate to deal with. Which you are like 90% expected to have to deal with going around the gate. You're not really expected to scoot under it before it closes, I don't recall. So we're gonna be going down there. I just want to take a look at the jerk responsible. That guy right there, he's why this gate's here. He is why this is annoying to me. I'm gonna get you. Remember that. I'll get you. Where are you running off to? Answer? Running off to set me up for failure again. Now, a skill that will benefit you greatly with this game is paying attention to your surroundings, such as this trail on the floor. And of course, you know, checking your corners when you're chasing after somebody like this, rather than just blindly pursuing. I, for some reason, thought I could take a hit from that, but I'm guessing that I ended up getting bumped a little more than I thought. That is going to be annoying. And we don't need to talk about the timing that had combined with my statement about watching your surroundings as I get stabbed in the back by a guy I'm pretty sure I did know was there, just for some reason didn't really account for properly. Good news is we'll be able to get back there pretty quickly. The longest part about this really is getting past this guy who's blocking the path. Because technically I could just run it past the rest of these. As long as you get through here quickly enough, the rats can't block you out. And then you can get away from them before they can bite you. So they're not really an issue. It's a little trickier here. But you can do a runner just fine through all this too. Just be careful to get enough distance that they don't just follow you down here. Or if they do, be prepared to deal with them accordingly. The good news is, ordinarily this should be a funnel that would be favorable to them. They're not prepared for what I have waiting for them. Things you can remember for your own future to benefit you. Setting traps for your enemies, even though they should be the ones trapping you. Fuck you in particular. I got distracted when his body fell down there because I thought it was one popping up out of the floor. Yeah, there's yet another. And another. I'm gonna keep losing that starting gambit there. I need to stop trying to just open with a stab. It's not gonna work out. Mystery key. What's it open? Who knows? We'll figure it out eventually. I'm pretty sure I do know. It's actually a fairly important key. Especially for me. That is how you more properly deal with these guys. Block first, then attack. Don't be impatient like me and just go in swinging. Oh hey, we got a broken sword. That's gonna be useful, right? Oh, and there's a specific reason why I learned to roll into barrels and such that will get addressed at some point. This is probably a bad idea. You know what? We're going for it. Oh no, this isn't the fog wall I was worried it was. Never mind, we're fine. Yeah, they're shooting up at me, but they can't hit me. This is a little bit dangerous. This part does get a lot spicier. Fellows like that. Meet our next greatest opponent. I've stabbed in the butt. These guys are very powerful at the stage of the game we're at right now. They can also heal, because they're knights. They're also only worth 200 each. But you get the Knight Shield from dealing with that one, and you can get their gear, as with anything else. I remember their sword actually being fairly nice to have. On one of my files, I quite enjoyed that sword. And this is where it gets nasty. Around one of these two corners is another friend. One there. There's also one there. The good news is the one on the right is just a regular spear guy. Deal with him first. I'm not fast enough to follow up on that. If I was better at kicking, you could also knock their shield aside with a kick, if I remember right. But I cannot, for some reason, get the kick to happen on command. Especially not without immediately doing the wrong attack, because I kind of have to mash to get the kick to happen. But just making it clear that I do understand how to better handle that. Just, I fail to do said better handling. Yeah, this guy's got a larger shield. He is more dangerous than the little buckler for one. What I remember. Thankfully, he was a bit stupid. Chose to heal in the face of a magic slinging fool. Nice looking place though, plus or minus all of the decay. And you know, the big holes that are filled in with just planks. Best not to worry too much about it. Enjoy the good views, like out here with the trees. The sun drifting across them alongside the mountain tops. Just enjoy the scenery in between the murders, either of you or of your enemies. Oh, this is the other side of the gate. Halberd, which probably won't be making use of. We are a weak little wizard man for the most part. Stab you in the butt. Basement key get. More importantly, shortcut get. So I don't have to walk through that whole segment and down over there again if I don't want to. Ow. They don't appreciate me opening the gate. P.S. Do not, I repeat, do not open that gate without having dealt with the boar first. I have had numerous times where I've opened that gate to a boar in the face immediately because of opening that. Where did you come from, sir? I'd ask where did you go, but I knew where you went. Went to stab me in the face.